And welcome back to the kitchen. Continuing with our cooking for teenagers, this is a fettuccine with chicken and spinach. So we need to look at our spinach first. So in my pot I've got some butter that I've started to melt, and I'm going to add to that some oil, and we're going to fry off in that some onion which I've already got pre-sliced, and a good clove of garlic which I'm just crushing here and removing the skin or the husk off the outside. So we'll just remove that little bit there, and then I'm just roughly chopping that down. If you've got a garlic crusher, you could crush it, just depends on what you want to do. So there's our garlic crushed. We've got our onions ready to go, so they're going into the oil and the butter. And we want to get those frying off. Now the spinach I'm using is your standard spinach from the supermarket. I've just given it a wash to remove any dirt that might have been there. If you're not familiar with using spinach, it does need quite a bit of seasoning. It's quite bland without that, so we're quite generous with the salt when we add the spinach to the onions and the garlic. And all we're doing is just wilting that down. Then we're actually going to put it in the food processor, and we're going to make virtually a little sauce out of it. So that's just softening those down really nicely. So for the chicken, I've already got 2 chicken thighs, and all I did was either grill them, which I say on the recipe, or you could roast them or bake them in the oven, and then I just cut them into thin strips. And the chicken thighs work really well because they've got a wee bit of fat on them, so it actually stays nice and moist. And then I've got some fettuccine pasta, which I've just cooked off al dente, and then that's just ready to go. Put it into a colander to cool it down, and then we're all set. So my onion and garlic have softened down. In goes our spinach, and if you've worked with spinach before, you know you need quite a lot of it if you're using it, because it does cook down to virtually nothing. So we want to cook that in that butter and oil, and I'm now starting to toss it with those onions and the garlic to get some flavour coming through. And just the heat from that pan is starting to break that spinach down. Now for this I don't want to wilt it down too much, but just that heat. What I'm just going to do here is just move my pot onto the bigger element just to actually finish that off. That's better, I can hear that sizzle more now. So your spinach will go from the natural green it is to quite a deep green. So the pot started off quite full with the spinach. Now you can see how much it's actually wilted down. If you can see that, there's not much there at all. So now we're going to take that and straight into our food processor. So with the onion as well and the garlic, all goes in together. Now I developed this recipe recently with some students at Verdon College. So a couple of girls put this together with my help. So processing that off. So we want it reasonably fine. So now we're going to transfer that to a frying pan. And virtually all we're doing in the frying pan is just allowing to heat that spinach up again. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add our chicken. And as I said, spinach needs some seasoning, so I'm going to add a generous amount of seasoning now, because I didn't put any in the spinach that was in the pot. And then in goes a quantity of our cooked fettuccine noodles. So if you're cooking the fettuccine straight away, you would just drain it and put it straight in. I've had to cook mine ahead of time. And now all we're doing is basically coating the chicken and the fettuccine in that spinach sauce that we've created, which has got that nice hint of garlic and that onion in there. So again, really nutritious. We've got our starch in there in the form of our pasta, we've got our protein with our chicken, and our veg in this case is all that wonderful spinach. And we know how important our iron intake is for teenagers, so of course they're going to get that iron from that spinach. So all we've had to do is we just heated that chicken up, and that's fettuccine. So now we can present it. So wonderful and green, with all those nice big slithers of chicken. We won't put it all in, but that I think we'll do a nice little bit on top. And then of course, with it being pasta, we want to have a nice generous grate of our Parmesan cheese on top, or any other cheese, but definitely the Parmesan goes really nice with that. So there you have it, our fettuccine pasta with our chicken and spinach.